There was a voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
A lot of things have happened in the past 24 hours in and around Nigeria, and of course that's what we do here on the Polity. Take a look at them, make sense of these developments around Anambra State in Nigeria, outside of Nigeria, among politicians and I'd say stakeholders at all levels. Of course, we understand that there is still rising insecurity in the country, despite the sweeping reforms that have been made across security architecture, from the military to the police that now has a new IGP. 29 persons were again reported killed as of this morning in the north. And of course, we understand that a report has it that there is rising terrorist attacks across Nigeria, Benin, and Niger border corridors. And the big question is, why is it increasing? Why is there no collaborative effort by these three border nations to put an end to this menace? All of these we get to look at and more. Good morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka, there's a lot to let out of the bag, ain't it?
Like they would say in Igbo language that so there are plenty of things that we have to uncover this very morning, or we have to let out this very morning, and we have to begin from Anambra State, where there was a meeting between the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, and traders at Onitsha Market, where discussions were held on the way forward. You know that in the aftermath of the closure of Onitsha Market, the governor of Anambra State talked about the plan of the government to demolish some illegal structures in the market. And according to the government, those structures were built illegally on allocated parking lots. And he said he has made the market unsustainable. So the government wants to regenerate the market and make it more habitable and more conducive for business environments. And yesterday that meeting held, and I saw the video from that very meeting where I heard the traders. I don't know if they are particularly those who are affected by the marked shops. They were asking the governor that they are going by the first option that he proposed before, for the entire market to be pulled down and then new market erected.
Isn't that witchcraft?
So I don't know actually what that means, but from what I can say, what could be the conclusion of that very discussion yesterday was the fact that the deadline given to the traders who are occupying shops built illegally is going to lapse this very Saturday. In fact, government gave them 14 days and later extended by 1 month. And this notice is going to elapse. And from what I gathered from government sources, by this very weekend, government is going to move into main market to begin demolition of the illegal structures. And perhaps by Monday, we will see the extent the government has gone in that very area. So that's number one. The number two is what we have seen going on in the South in terms of security agencies trying to recover the spaces that were hitherto occupied by gunmen. I don't know if you have seen the video circulating on social media about the recovery of Mother Valley, the AKA Sabisa Forest of the Southeast in Oslo local government area of Imo State. And there's one guy who has become so active on social media, they call him Ijele, and he's been the one, making videos of how security agencies have been recovering some places hitherto occupied by this very government. And I must tell you that from what I've seen so far in this very video, it's Operation Sweep. And they've been able to make some inroads into those areas hitherto held by this very man. Asia, Osumu, and Co., they have been in the news due to this recovery. Then talk about what happened between the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, and the one Tracy Ohiri. Tracy Ohiri said that she did a contract for Umahi when he was chief executive in Ebonyi State, and Umahi refused to pay him. In fact, I know that sometime that should be about a year ago, she called out Umahi on social media and even alleged that the man refused to pay her because he wanted the relationship with her and she refused. Now the issue has, it has escalated to the point that the woman was picked up by the police and taken to Abuja. And guess what? Omoyele Sowore has entered the case and it has now festered. And he's been harassed severally by the police, deployed by Umahi. So,
did you see the video that circulated about 48 hours ago? The one of Umahi on a blue senator,
okay,
and a cap, and the woman, shouting on the top of her voice,
yes,
asking that she be paid.
Yes, that one happened. The woman was held somewhere in Abuja in police custody, and then, from what I gathered, Umahi was brought to question the woman. So the woman felt that he came to mock her, and then she began to shout, to talk about what happened between two of them. Right there, from the report we got, that Umahi denied that he never knew the woman. So that was how Sowore got involved in that. Sowore was the one who made the video at that point, asking the minister, why are you trying to use the police to settle personal scores and what have you. So a lot has happened in the matter between Tracy Ohiri and Dave Umahi.
It's really sad that women are trying their very possible best to break even in a male-dominated world, and women like Tracy would have to go through dehumanizing, things like this. Imagine having to work hard for your money and have to cry and grovel and beg before you were paid and even mocked. I saw that video and I really felt really bad. And I was wondering, Umahi is a public office holder. Is there nobody that can actually call Umahi to order? Because this is a dent on even the image of the federal government of Nigeria. I mean, you're a servant minister and you're being called out for owing debt on a contract, and this has not been investigated or addressed squarely. It's been a case of power versus, who doesn't have power.
What, as it stands now, what I have not been able to establish, which I expect that the woman should do, is to put out there, the document showing that, because from what the woman said that she got a contract to make some supplies to schools in Ebonyi State then, and she did, but he refused to pay her because of one thing or the other. I would like the woman to also go the extra mile by putting out the document there, and also be specific what contract did you actually do, so that we get to know about it.
Where did you supply it? From when to when? That's the clarity that is needed for things like this to be corrected, and of course to prevent future recurrences. We're not alone in the studio. Dr. Tony Olisambeke is here. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisholm. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in the Akandolo Ibondinkuzi, the market. and ndị ọlụ dị iche iche ifọbụna na-alụ alụ ndị na-anya ife a na-anya anya ndị ọgba tum tum obodo dị iche iche. Good morning, everyone. We thank God Almighty for this very beautiful Friday morning. Thank God it's Friday. And today is another day for us to talk about not just politics, but issues. And these issues, most of them are communal, some are societal. And these issues, they keep occurring from time to time. In any case, you are welcome. We thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His grace, for His love, for everything He has been doing for us as humans, despite our sinfulness. It's 27th today in the month of February. And we thank God Almighty for making us to see this very day. And tomorrow will be tomorrow is sanitation for Anambra State. And Sunday will mark the beginning of March. Well, there's so much to talk about. You're welcome. Just sit back and enjoy the program.
So, Tony, this remodeling of Onitsha that is happening, a lot of persons still are not in tune with it. You know, a lot of persons are just looking at the difficult part. I'll give you an instance. I know 33 axis is, I would say, a tad bit off Onitsha Metropolis Center or Onitsha Center as it is. But I like to think that this remodeling is what is also stretching to that part with the road reconstruction going on there. And I am curious to find out how we can get Nigerians and Ambrarians in Onitsha to be more cooperative. Because what I witness every morning is self-sabotage. Yes, I call it self-sabotage because the government is doing something to help you take care of something that has been paining you for a very long time. The roads have been so bad for years. And now the work is actually very speedy. This is not the dig one portion today, come back next week. No, these men are working day in, day out to make sure that this is finished in record time. But the people who reside in that area are not supportive, Tony. How do we get Nigerians to be more cooperative? And of course, with the entire remodeling of Onitsha going on.
Well, we know very well that people are resistant to change. Whenever people are comfortable with a system or comfortable with a situation, it becomes very difficult if you are telling them that it's going to be this way or it's going to be that way. They are ever resistant to change. And what you see on the road you mentioned, and even the member kit we talked about, is all about change. Trying to say that the old things have passed away and behold, the new things are coming up now. Let's begin with the data for nature main market. Just like we know very well, is the biggest market in the entire Africa in terms of geographical size and the volume of goods traded. You know, most times we usually say on nature main market is the largest market in West Africa. Made it known that it is the largest in Africa, but you must be contextual. Largest in what terms? Largest in terms of geographical size and also in terms of volume of goods traded. We know very well that the market serves as a commercial powerhouse for West Africa. I know many people who come from ECOWAS region, Ghana, Cameroon, Benin, Niger Republic, for those who have suppliers from Europe, Asia, and beyond. China seems to be one of the trading partners as far as this market is concerned. If you look at this very market, I don't want us to waste much time about this because I'm just trying to lay the foundation before I answer the question. The market, if you trace the roots, it can be traced to over 500 years. That was around early 16th century, around 1506 or about 1630, when the Onitsha people, led by King Chima, migrated from. I don't want to talk about this because there are some debate about it, but you know how he settled around very here, you know, and then his empire, Adonidu. But in any case, the Otunkwo, as we used to call it, Otunkwo market, it operated as a periodic market every 4 days. It started as just as we have in many communities. Ife Jimala on market is Otunkwo market. It tries every Nkwo day. Every Nkwo day, you know, Nkwo is just 4 days away from each other. So that's the way it operated. And it was in alliance with Igbo calendar. But over time, around 1800s, around the 17th century, the market grew to a major trading town. At that point, the population even exceeded around 13,000, which was considered at that time to be very massive. But we know the role colonial masters played and so many things. But we are talking about this very market. And we also know the coming of the missionaries like Ajayi Crowther, the founder of the Church Mission Society, his arrival around 1857. In all of this, the market is no more what it is today. The market is not what it is, and that's where the governor is coming in now. But the truth remains that after the Biafran Civil War, the market was devastated. In fact, Onitsha remained during the war was a major theater of conflict as federal forces entered Biafra from the west, leading to the complete destruction of Onitsha Main Market building. Onitsha Main Market building was completely annihilated, leveled in the year 1968 during the Biafran Civil War, or the Nigerian Biafran Civil War. The market was razed down. But we know very well that after the war, under Dr. M.I. Okpara, the governor of Eastern Region, the market was rebuilt. And since then, we've not seen the adherence to the master plan during the rebuilding of this market by Dr. M.I. Okpara after the Nigerian Biafran Civil War. The master plan was put up and designs were made, architectural designs and so many things. I was listening to the governor. The governor says the market has about 5 parking slots. Out of these 5 parking slots, 3 of these parking slots have been built upon. Restrooms, they have been all converted to shops. And you are not going to talk about walkways and so many other things. He believes that people did one thing or the other. He talked about the fiscal planning of Anambra State, that it will be amended in such a way that public office holders who allocated shops or property illegally, even after their retirement, they can also be prosecuted for that, so that it would also serve as a deterrent for those who would want to stay in office and then cause harm to generations coming. But we've known very well that the market itself has grown to the size it is, either as a result of population growth, expansion, and there seems not to be future plan for the market, because in any market you must look at what the future holds. What will the market will look like in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, based on the population growth and other things you may also want to talk about. We know very well that these market traders were given, I think 2 weeks. From 2 weeks they were given 1 month. From 1 month we are told that the expiration of that 1 month will be tomorrow. And we are told that contractors are standing by. Contractors that would do phase remodeling, they are standing by, so they will be moving into the market tomorrow. And if they move in, they will first and foremost concentrate on the parking spaces, the parking lots. That's the phase 0, according to the governor. He says it's going to be phases. Phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But the phase 0 part of it will be the parking spaces, these places that we are marked. But the interesting thing, let's talk about what happened yesterday in Oka. The governor wanted to see these traders, to let them know that bulldozers will move in tomorrow, so that they will not, in any case, taken aback. So if you go today, pack your goods. If you are leaving the shop today, you have to pack your goods. And also try to brief them and appeal to them for calm, for cooperation and all that. Do you know what these people did? They went, because these were the people, their shops were marked X for demolition. These were the people that were originally given 1 month. And that 1 month expiration will be tomorrow. So governor wanted to remind them, as yesterday being Thursday, that in 2 days' time, bulldozer will move in. And they came to beg the governor for more time. That's their purpose, because I spoke to so many of them. They say that their essence of meeting the governor was to see if they can beg governor to give them more time, and possibly to see where he can relocate them, why the remodeling is going on so they can have somewhere to stay. But they said that yesterday the governor was able to tell them that what he's doing is for both future generation, this present generation, and also generation that is coming after. That we must restore to what this market is used to. There is, you don't have proper restroom, no walkway, no parks, nothing that any modern market is known for. You can cite at that main market. In all of these people said, you know what, Governor? Yes. You remember you gave us two options the last time we spoke with you. You gave us option 1 and option 2. Option 1 is to remodel the entire part of the market. And option 2 is to go after the illegal structures. Now we are going back to option 1. These were the people that their shops were marked. So they felt instead of us to go down alone, let everybody go down. That was their plan.
You know, you were not here when we started. When Franklin talked about it, I was like, this is simply witchcraft.
You know, that's how humans talk. You know, how humans behave.
And I'm just curious if I'm certain that the governor is not going to allow this set of humans, you know, would I say decide what he does? Because make it make sense, Tony. How would a sane person decide that? Because if it takes entire demolition, it means work has supposed. I mean, business has supposed. Yeah. Where do all the people in main market take their wares? We are talking warehouses.
Exactly.
We are talking shops.
Exactly.
We are talking extensions.
Exactly.
We are talking kiosks.
Exactly.
Make it make sense.
Well, just like Governor told them yesterday. In fact, they went there and started saying, Saludo, saludo, saludo kaigeso. One jeje mona na saludo kaigeso. Why? Because Saludo said, you know what? I'm going to consider these options, and maybe the very latest option you've taken, the option 1, which has to do with everybody. At that point, they started rejoicing because the governor told them that since they have taken option 1, as against option 2 they took the other time during the sit-at-home in Bruglio. Since you've taken option 1, which has to do with everybody, remodeling the market, probably the government will do that. They started rejoicing. They started saying, oh, for Saludo. But governor also reminded them that it's going to be in phases. Phases in the sense that it's not going to be a one-time thing where everybody will be emptied. In this case, there are still the phase 0. That is the Lego, because we are talking about the parking slots where they have built on these parking slots. So they are going to be the phase 0. So they are going to be the first. In any case, what you say, is it not witchcraft? But that's how humans think. I thought that they would go there and beg for more time, as against telling the governor that let everybody go in. But when they tried it, the governor did not yield. He was trying to tell them that this has to be done now so that you can go back to your shops.
All right then, Tony.
That's just that.
We've extensively dealt with this matter.
Just Tony, looking at how this thing has gone, do you think that we are making a very quick decision on this? Do you think that government has had enough wide consultation? Because whether the government go, because those places were meant to be parking lots, but people converted them illegally to shops, and they went bought shop without knowing. Now they have fallen to what I could call, being trapped in a web they didn't know about. And we've discussed this in here, and we talked about in what scenario can government pay compensation. And we were able to come to the conclusion that when it comes to compensation, government pays compensation when people's property is going to be encroached upon in the overriding interest of the public. I mean, in this very case, government just want to recover what was taken illegally. In that very case, they might not get compensation unless if government wants to become generous. So what I'm saying in essence is, whether government chooses to go by option 1, option 2, there are consequences. People are going to be affected. Lives are going to be changed. Some persons might return to their village because of this. Some persons might move their businesses to other states. Some might go to Asaba, go to somewhere else. There are implications. So, have there been wide consultations with different groups, different stakeholders to ensure that while we are doing this one, we are transparent, there's going to be monitoring, and at the same time, we'll be able to cushion the effect of this very initiative of the government?
Well, you asked very important questions. Whether there was wide consultation, whether if the decision is, would I say, very sudden, or if we are making mistake, you put out these things very well. Well, remember, for sure, something triggered this, but we are not gonna maybe spend time on the trigger. I know very well there has been ongoing conversation. There have been conversations around this issue of market. I think the governor made them I think about a month ago. He had this discussion, the market leaders. First, he met with the market leaders, met with the stakeholders, and at the same time met with the marketers themselves. They came and bared their opinion. It was at that point they said it was going to be option this for them. Even before that very day, there were different conversations going on. But at that level, it was at the level of stakeholders, at the level of the unions, and at the same time those who have one thing or the other with the market. It was at that level. It trickled down to general level when they met the governor and took a decision that they wanted so option. So it went further, where the governor also called them back again over the decision they took, and they now say they have made changes, and the changes they made will be to demolish entire building and have a new building. Now, we know very well that so far the market is sitting on 25-hectare sites. That's the original master plan, 25 hectares. And if you look around, that market, if those illegal structures, they contain about 10,000 shops. But if you put together the entire shops at main market, if you put it together, plus or minus, it will be around 50,000 shops. But after this remodeling, you may get up to 250,000 shops. So you are going to get times 5 of the number of shops present. But this time around with normal spaces, because it's going to be plaza. You know, you have all these modern features, situations whereby these structures, these shops will be properly and well aligned. Remember, you cannot build anything on top of these shops. If you go to main market, there's a place called Gongoro. Gongoro is that major covering. You can't build anything on top of it. What people do is they will come and buy some space and start building plaza for themselves. So there is need for homogeneity, and that's the mark of a good market. So what government is trying to do is to regenerate more shops. You know, they were talking about expansion. You look at a shop that sits on 25 hectares of land, and having such number of shops, that more can be done to bring in more shops. But just like we said, it's going to be a phased thing. The entire plan will last for 2 years. Entire regeneration will last for 2 years. The question is, where would these people be within this 2-year period? It's starting tomorrow, and it's going to last for 2 good years. And by the time the process is completed, many people, even those who do not have a shop, they will be given open this thing to pick up shop. Shop will be available for almost everybody.
Lest you forget, I just want to cite an example of what happened at Oyaga Bagana, so that we'll be able to understand it. Because when we talk about trying to regenerate this very market, of course, it's a good initiative, but at the same time, we're trying to look at the peculiarities. I'm trying to remember the name of that very market in Kano that I went through sometime. That should be about 2012, 2013. In fact, the market was well built to the point that, in fact, there's no line you will walk through. If you want to drive through the line, you'll be able to do that. But most of the structures were, upstairs. Now, what I'm talking about now is, if we're going to do this regeneration by trying to build, upstairs, like a 2-story building, 4-story building, and looking at the kind of trading that happens there, the kind of trading that happens there is such that we are always disposed to, let me walk into the shop and buy what I want to buy. That's why if you go to Chanjanai, you get empty shops no Chanja. Nobody wants to occupy it unless those who want to use it for warehouse or parking space.
Yeah.
Now if you go to Oyaga Bagana, the local government chairman at a point in time went to Oyaga Bagana trying to say he wanted to regenerate the market, to rebuild it. It also happened at Nkwenugoku, and they built upstairs. And the market women who used to trade there, they were displaced. They were displaced. And they were promised that by the time government was done doing the structures, they'll be able to have spaces.
Yeah.
But when government was done doing that, they can't afford the shop that the government built. If you go to that market now, those new structures, the shops are empty. Nobody has occupied them except few of them. If you go to Nkwenugoku, the same thing applies there.
Right.
So looking at the peculiarity of main market, the kind of trading that happens there, would government factor in this when conceiving the kind of structure that you want to put up in that very area?
The demo of the structure was displayed to them yesterday during the meeting at the amphitheater at the government house. The demo is not that kind of upstairs you have 3-story. No. It's more like a 1-story upstairs, but there's a way it looks like. They were very happy when they saw the structure. The demo, the architectural design, the architectural prototype was shown to them. They started clapping. And they were looking at the prototype. They were saying, so you mean that we are going to have this? I was there yesterday. You mean, they were asking governor, do you mean we are going to have this, what we are seeing as the prototype? The governor told them, this is what I want to give you. That is what we are doing. I want to give you this. What you are seeing displayed in a very large screen. That's what I want to give you. That's what the contractors have been told to give. That's what they said that they will bring. And many of them were happy. And at that point, they started singing praises for the governor. I was there. They started eulogizing the governor, using all manner of songs. That if you can give us what we are seeing here. But the truth is, I'm concerned about how most of them will get back their shops. Because for those who have legitimate shops, I don't know how government will do it so that they would have their shops, whereby they may be made to pay payment for the remodeling in phases, and they have their shops. I don't know such plan. I don't know about such plan, but I know that is where our concentration should be. 2 years, fair enough, very big. But we know very well if 2 years will cause us to have something much more better. Many of them have started talking about where to do or what to do, where to go, or temporary sites where they can be doing their training while the whole process is going on. But the one of Enugu is just, if you build plaza could be 3-story building, 4-story building. It might not really be good for the kind of trading at main market. The one I saw yesterday is not that kind of 3-story building. I saw something, at least 1-story building or thereabout. The one I saw displayed as the prototype with modern facilities, parking lot, so many things. Even with screen, big screen display of what some of the lines will be doing. Even spaces for advert, promotions, as if you are in Beijing, as if you are in Guangzhou, that kind of stuff. But that's what I saw yesterday. But in any case, I go 2 years, I get one. But let's look at how the whole thing will plan out, because the governor said that the general or the total regeneration timeline is 2 years. But that does not mean that some places will not be completed within that period. Phase 0 you have phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. The last phase is 4. Phase 0, I don't know how long it's going to last. You have phase 1, 2, 3, 4. But total regeneration timeline is 2 years.
Okay. So let's now go to look at the headlines we have on the paper this very morning. As usual, we have 4 newspapers, and we begin with the headlines we have on the Nation newspaper. The big story there says presidential election holds January 16, governorship February 6, Osun governorship poll August 15, INEC revises timetable schedule. And you can see the breakdown of the schedule for this very election. That's on front page of the Nation newspaper. Another headline we have on the front page says unions intensify protests at NAFDAC's office over ban on sachet alcohol. That story can be found on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate, airlines face FCCPC sanctions for arbitrary pricing. That very report came out from FCCPC saying that they discovered arbitrary pricing within Christmas period. Electoral Act 2026 Presidency APC fire back as ADC NNPP kick. That story is on page 3. First Lady, a blessing to Nigerians, says Oboro Weri. The story is on page 1. The First Lady was in Delta said yesterday, precisely in Warri, Delta State. Eduna shows of improvement in payment system. That story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And the last story we can take on the front page on the Nation says, anti-El Rufai protest rock Kaduna. That story is on page 4. And Credit Corps gives 37 billion naira to 200,000 beneficiaries. You can see that on page 1 of the Nation newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, banner headline is Electoral Act. Senate rejects fresh amendment as Atiku Obi Amechi pushback. That's on page 2. The rider-raised opposition accuses APC of plotting against the transmission of 2027 poll results. Demand Electoral Act review. Presidency kicks. FCCPC probes fare fixing by local airlines on page 20. Over 200 men wielding AK-47s stormed the Elwata. Please witness on page 8. INEC fixes January 16 for 2027 presidential poll. Bandits kill 29, abduct many in fresh attacks. On page 7, Senate panel orders probe after inspecting burnt Lagos Airport terminal. On page 30. All right, on the Vanguard, much of it is covered by an advertorial speaking about Senator Oluremi's visit to Warri yesterday. Picture story is the Olu of Warri and Her Excellency, the wife of the president. 2027, Atiku Obi Amechi Mark Galadima. Others reject electoral law on page 5. INEC moves 2027 polls to January 16 on page 14. Oshun Gaba holds August 15, 2026. FCCPC indicts airlines over inflated airfares during Yuletide on page 19. On The Guardian, lots of stories here, but that take as much as we have time to. INEC ignores Electoral Act protests shifts 2027 elections for Ramadan. That's on page 6. Over 100 terrorists stormed Benue villages, killed 150. Witness tells court. That's on page 29. 2027 polls. Yoruba Ronu withdraws support for APC, backs ADC on page 7. Commission documents 700,000 out of school children on page 7. FGDP's Credit Corps targets wider coverage, disbursements on page 5. Bochi Governor says 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities on page 29. Constitution amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 polls. On page 6, Desilas barricade NAVDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban on page 7. Picture story, people bearing placards that say 5.5 million Nigerians can't be pushed to the streets. Stop destroying local manufacturers. NAVDAC should... Okay, I can clearly see that, but of course you already know what the story is about. FG insists on state police awaits legislative backing on page 3. Senate votes zero capital, demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reforms on page 3. Report, terrorist attack on Nigeria, Benin, Niger borders rose by 262% in 2025. That story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspapers. And so, Tony, we do not have so much time, so we are going to be putting two things side by side. The rejection of the Electoral Act and, of course, the shifting up of the date of the election. We understand that the Nigerian election calendar, which traditionally has had general elections held between February and March to allow logistical preparations and constitutional timelines, has now been moved to mid-January. I don't know if this is set to continue after 2027, but the election has been dated for 16th of January 2027. And this would consequently compress the campaign window, would warrant some structural changes, and maybe affect party primaries and litigation timelines. And so I'd like to understand, Tony, what legal instruments authorize this date shift? What exactly is INEC anchoring this date shift on? A lot of Nigerians are also going to be curious to understand if INEC is going to, realistically, not on paper, have as many willing Nigerian voters as possible registered before this election, judging by the time that we have and how things have been done in the past in Nigeria. Also, is this going to increase participation and also help with post-election litigations?
Well, like I always say, you asked what is the relying document upon which this shift. We know very well that INEC had released a title for the election. We saw the Muslim groups, they made their own input. For them, it was not going to really augur well for them. It coincided with the month of Ramadan. We talked about this the other time. And INEC replied by saying that their hands were tied, that they did what they did within the ambit of law, what the law provides that they would do. Our next section 28 is amended that would allow them to have their way. And then, lo and behold, section 28 was amended, which provides that the election, announcements that it will be 360 days to, that's just first, and then it also talks about the timetable for the election. And they also have their guidelines. So once that section 28 was amended, it gave them the ample opportunity and ample time to tinker with the timetable, and they reduced the 360 to 300. Instead of 360 days, now it becomes 300. So to allow them to fix this election.
Because I was going to ask you, it's already less than 360 days.
That's why they reduced it. They amended section 228. So instead of 360, it will be 300 to accommodate January. Without that, January wouldn't have been accommodated. It would have been from February, middle of February, down to that of March.
Yes.
So as we have always. So INEC looked at that very legal loophole and told the National Assembly, it's in your hands. And what the National Assembly did, they succumbed to the pressure by Muslim groups. Many of them are also Muslim as well. They feel that with the election within the month of Ramadan, it will affect turnout. Many will not turn up.
Can I ask you something, Tony? Sorry to cut in there. Does Ramadan shift from time to time?
It does.
So
it does.
Sometimes it's February.
Yet sometimes I think it's we are so much deeply religious. Remember when we did this analysis, I did point out so many countries that do have elections in Ramadan, Muslim-dominated countries. I talked about Egypt. I talked about Bangladesh. I talked about Turkey. And then I also said, in fact, in 2024, Turkey did major election within the month of Ramadan. And I asked, what is different from our own Islam to that of these Islams we have in other countries? These are countries that religion do not shape their psyche. But here is a different thing. But I've always said that we have to do things in a way that suits our peculiarities. Here, religion is the opium of the people. They use religion to cage us, both Muslims and Christians. Not just Muslims alone, both Muslims and Christians. They use religion to cage us. There are things we cannot do for advancement as a result of religion. And that's why if you go down to so many parts of the north, many of them cannot go to school. They are just taught Quranic recitation, and for them it's enough. And that will not bring about different technological and scientific advancement. But if you go to countries like Egypt, if you go to Turkey, if you go to even Pakistan and Indonesia, these are Muslim-dominated countries. But see the advancement they have made either in commerce, in technology, in many ways, in infrastructure, in medicine, in all around. Even when you go to India or China, Buddhism, of course, those who do not go to church in China or do not practice religion, they are above 70% in China. But the rest, of course, we know they are Buddhist. If you come to India, you talk about Hinduism, but they do not allow religion to cage them. In fact, if I tell you the records, the marks India is making in area of AI and in medicine, in software engineering, you will be so marveled. Look at what other countries, look at the gains, look at how far they are pacing. But look at where we are. We are caged back.
So according to the calendar, Ramadan 2031 should be around December 23, 24, 2031. So it may not necessarily affect the election.
Yeah, just like we said, Ramadan does shift because we know that immediately after Ramadan,
so it will be that as well.
Yeah, it becomes Eid Fitri.
Okay.
And one thing is this: they try to amend some of these things. The only thing they hinged on for this amendment is for turn. They said that people after fasting for the entire day, how somebody who is fasting come out to stand or queue up with such energy to vote, that sometimes it would affect what we do here. Because remember, if we have electronic voting, this wouldn't have been a problem. You can simply stay in your home or even come out manually. If you have mail-in voting, there are other voting systems we do not have. We have preached for some of these advancements, but those who are there believe that things like this cannot happen. And I've looked at the opposition. They are saying they are not taking the amendment, not just on the issue of timetable. They are talking about on the issue of manual backup. I listened to leaders of African Democratic Congress yesterday. I listened to so many of them. I listened to Atiku. I listened to Obi. I listened to Amechi. So many of them. They have rejected the Electoral Amendment Act as we have presently, the 2026 Electoral Amendment, and they have rejected it in toto. They say that they are not going to align with such amendments. So are they going to boycott the election? Because one option they have is to boycott election. And if they do boycott the election, it does not change anything. From the look of things, from the way I've seen these things evolving, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed this. And INEC is already working with what he has signed. The opposition leaders are saying no, that they will not accept the electoral amendment. The question is, what will you do? It's not about you will not accept it. The only thing they have before them legally is to challenge it in court. That's the only thing they have. But if you go to court, on what ground will you predicate your challenge? Abiola was why he was quick to call for division, so that people will vote on individual basis, so that nobody will say that the process was flawed. The only thing court can look in will be the process through which that was arrived. Did it follow normal legislative process? The court will not invalidate the outcome because you don't want this, you don't want that, or you want this, you want that. The court will look at the process that led to the outcome. If the process is flawed, the court will invalidate it and ask you to go and redo it. The court will not invalidate it and say you cannot have it. The court will only ask you go and redo it in line with the procedure. And if that is redone again, because they have majority, both at the Senate, both at the House of Representatives, it has become a partisan issue. It's a party thing now. And if they call names or call it division, whatever name they call it, and if they ask them to come and queue up by manual counting, they will still have the day. That is the agony of the opposition, where they don't have numbers, where they don't have people, where they cannot even integrate to form a formidable force. Had it been that the margin between opposition and the ruling party in the National Assembly, if the margin is thin, you have some members of the ruling party you can sway to your own side and cause that disruption. But the margin is so fat, you can't sway them into your own side to cause disruption.
So, Tony, from what has been happening, the rejection of the Electoral Act amendment by the opposition, the likes of Atiku and Co, Rotimi Amechi, even NMPP, just mention them. Now, if you look at it from the point of Nigerians, they are doing what they're supposed to do, at least to express their displeasure with what the National Assembly did. But as we speak now, it's like medicine after death, just like crying over the spilled milk. Somebody can argue that they went for protest to, make the National Assembly to do what they think is the common will of Nigeria, but they went against it. Now I'm going back to Ruby, because for me, I like looking at things from the point of what I'm supposed to do at the right time, so that at the end of the day, if what I want didn't come to materialize, I would say I've been able to do my work. The opposition, they lost members in the National Assembly. We saw how they were moving in droves. Those from Labour Party, those from NMPP, even those from any other party we had, they were all migrating from their parties to the ruling party, to the point that the ruling party now has the overwhelming majority that even if any issue comes up on the floor of the House, they can barely muster any kind of challenge. Now, this very agitation now coming from opposition parties, can we say that they did their homework? Because where you're supposed to do the work is at the point of the conception of the amendment provisions, you take part in it. Then at the point of reaching out stakeholders who are going to push for it. You take part in it, so that by the time it gets to the House and they begin discussions, you might be able to, have a leeway. Were they able to reach out to their, to the party members in the House, or reach out to the people who might share the sense, the same sentiment of philosophy with them? Were they able to do that? I heard one of them saying that they should write to embassies of the countries of the world for them to mount pressure. These things, were they able to do this thing before time, or they just waited at the end of the day when it has been passed and they're now, crying foul?
Well, they did everything they could. Remember, they were ambushed somehow. They thought they had their way. They thought they had everything going their way. Remember, even members of the majority in the Senate aligned with real-time transmission of results. They all agreed. The committee set up, headed by Lalong, also reported that that's what they agreed. The ad hoc committee set up to look into what the electoral committee headed by Lalong did. They all came back and returned the same thing. And they all agreed. In fact, they thought that everything was working accordingly, the way Nigerians had wanted it. Because why I always use the word Nigerians during the electoral committee work, when people were invited to talk, the opinion was the same. So you would at that point say Nigerians decided, or the Nigerian talked. But along the line, fear started emanating. Fear of the known. What could be the problem? If we have the real time, how would it affect our chance, your chance, my chance, anyone's chance? People started making such calculations. Not how we are going to strengthen our electoral system, how we are going to make it more credible, how we are going to make it more acceptable, and how we are going to make it fair. But the issue of how would it affect my chance, your chance, as a party, as this, they started making such calculations, and then before you know it, a particular senator met up Babi and told her, Babi, do you know what you are doing? If we allow this real time, whatever you see, you take. That's the way it operates. Whatever you see, you take. At this point, there will be no human interface during collation.
So technically, it is them deciding the rules of engagement in a game they are involved in.
It has always been like that.
And so the big question now at this point is, this rejection that has come from opposition, how timely is it? I mean, looking at the fact that, like you pointed out earlier, Franklin pointed out, this is spilled milk. It's been assented to, if I'm not mistaken. A date has been put out for the next election. Do we have time to start going back and forth again? Is there even room for that in the first place?
Opposition will always have their say.
I mean,
the majority, we have their way.
Having their say and having
assented
is different.
No. In the democracy, opposition will always have their say.
So what they are doing now is simply having their say.
They are having their say.
And I'm asking you, is there a way that they are supposed to say, which you've been able to make sense of its rightness, can be implemented?
Their say at this point is immaterial. Okay. It's non-existent in terms of the impact it's going to make. It's just for them to have their say. And that their say, that's what they're having. As we have it right now, if they want to cause upturn of what we have presently, the only way out is going to the court. And we know, just like I explained, if you go to the court cannot change the outcome. It will look at the process, the outcome arrived. And if the process is flawed, the court will also redirect you, go back and redo it. Not that you will come and use technical grounds to knock it off. It's not going to work. The president is fast enough. Look at immediately that bill was passed. Mr. President signed. He doesn't want anything to happen by chance. That's why he speedily signed it. For him, it is in the interest of the country. But for the opposition is say they did it in their own interest. They are boasting that they will win. Why don't they allow electronic collation as we have real time? That if you think you can win election, come and show us by allowing real-time transmission of election results and at the same time collation. That if you look at what so many Nigerians are even accusing the opposition, accusing the ruling party But how tenable will it be? They are accusing the ruling party that very day they will meet network providers to switch off the networks so that the manual will be more than 50%, so that they will have time to do the abracadabra. That's what
some civil society organizations
that's
are also
what
predicting.
Yes, that's what many Nigerians are accusing them. That even the network providers in Nigeria, they are much better described as
they're complacent as well.
They are that's apart from being complacent, they could be complicit in whatever plan these people have. That they are under government. They are not independent.
So they are like alibis.
That is what it is. That they can be asked to switch off networks, and if they do switch off network and hinge it on any problem, it means that manual collection will take place as against what we have.
So where does that leave the common man, the Nigerian man whose vote is supposed to decide who leads him or who represents him at the end of the day? Because like you have rightly pointed out, what should be is not what has been assented to, what has been signed into law. The opposition is barely, would I say, stating the obvious, but it cannot bring about any change. That's what you asked.
No. It cannot. They are just, they should, if the only two things they have, go to court or boycott the election. If they take any of these two options, boycott the election,
consequences,
you have lost the election. Nothing happens. Because you'll be asking United States of America, international community not to recognize Nigerian election, not to accept or recognize Nigerian president and all that. But why you do that, you look at if that will be the case. Because if you look around what happened to Venezuela, remember when the president became the president, when he was re-elected, the U.S. said that they did not recognize that election. So when you tell U.S. you went to arrest a president, you know what they will tell you? They went to arrest a common man, an ordinary citizen. That the person you are referring to as a president is not a president by their own standard. So if a country fails to recognize you as a president, they will treat you as a common person, as an ordinary person.
Does that make any difference to Nigerians? I mean, this is probably from the opposition calling for other nations to boycott the election. To not recognize the election and
if they boycott it.
If they boycott it, and not recognize the election and the outcome. By outcome now, I mean whoever emerges.
Yes.
Now the question will be again, the common Nigerian, the one who is supposed to have a president that is supposed to make certain pronouncements, sign bills into law. The president has his duties squad out, oversee the executive arm of government. Why does that leave the average Nigerian?
If they start applying pressure to international community, to United Nations, to African Union, to so many countries to see Nigerian election as a fraud, not to recognize Nigerian election, if any of them do things like this, it will head into constitutional crisis. And you know the consequence of heading into constitutional crisis. Whenever a country gets into constitutional crisis, the consequence is usually military takeover. That's the consequence, military takeover. If we head into constitutional crisis, we should be careful. We should be careful. The consequence of most countries that entered into constitutional crisis is usually military takeover. And we ask ourselves, how did we fare the last time, or how did we fare all the time, all the period we were in military rule? You wouldn't say, because I cannot have it. Nobody should have it. But if you look at the process that led to the signing of the passage of the Electoral Act, the legislative process was transparent. Yes, it was transparent. Just that it did not reflect the wish of the people, that the representatives did their wish. The court is not going to look at whose wish was done.
Going to look at how it was
done.
So Tony,
and how it was done was in compliance with any known law. That's why I said they did it rightly, but they represented their wish, not the wish of Nigerians, but how the passage, we must put it on record, the passage of the amendment was rightly done, so judging by our laws.
Tony, can I add something? Because I think opposition in Nigeria should maybe go for a crash course. Because they need it. I keep on saying this thing because I don't know why opposition should engineer crisis within their own party.
You took this out of my mouth.
Mess up the party, mess up their members, whereby they become like, a sheep without shepherd. And then they begin to look for shepherd in the ruling party, thereby depleting your membership, thereby making you more vulnerable and inconsequential. When these things have been done, when you're supposed to do your work, you don't even do your work. Tony, if you begin to look at the process of this very amendment of the Electoral Act, there were international partners who were involved, who offered even technical assistance and what have you not. In fact, even in the drafting of the provisions, European Union was involved in concert with some CSOs, Yaga Africa, Semesco, just plenty of them. These people, they do come together to do these things. Why pressure is coming from CSOs? Also, some of that pressure is also coming from these international partners on what needs to be brought into the amendment to ensure that we have an election that is more improved. But sometimes these people don't do the job they're supposed to do. They think that being an opposition is just to go to the media, shout, we are building party, issue press statement, we are doing this, we are doing this. It does not end there. You have to exploit those loopholes to your own advantage. Build your party on, solidify the party so that if you have one member today, for the fact the party has become strong, people can join more. But whereby if you get one member today, tomorrow you lose it by the virtue of the crisis you have engineered within that very party. Why can't opposition think of a better way to build what you can call a virile opposition? When I look at Kenya in the era of Mwai Kibaki, then talk about this man that died recently, trying to remember his name, Raila Odinga. You know, when Raila Odinga was alive, you know the kind of opposition that he mounted in Kenya, years after year, that he was like a fierce opposition figure in that very country. Now, in our own country, is there anybody who can look at now and say this is the face of opposition? Today, Atiku is in PDP, tomorrow is in the APC, next tomorrow is in ADC. The same applies to El-Rufai. Balaji Abdullahi, the same applies to him. P2B, the same applies to him. So who can we actually look at now and say this is the face of opposition, whereby everybody can go and circle around the person, knowing that with them we can build a party that can be called a virile opposition in this very country?
Well, you've made a very valid point, frankly. Opposition is always consistent. If you go to different countries of the world, we have in US, UK, we have so many of them. You've seen opposition being consistent. But what we have here, I don't know the best name to use to describe them. Many of them were those who worked under Buhari, because things do not favor them. They have joined opposition, looking for that power again. If you look at, just like you mentioned, Tinubu was in opposition consistently. And at a point, he became the face of the opposition, even when everybody left. But let me ask, who would you use to say amongst the opposition? Many of them also ran to Tinubu for help. Atiku ran to Tinubu. Yes, he ran to Tinubu to see if Tinubu could help him. And that was why, at a point, he did. And if you look at some of the people, apart from P2B, who was from ABGA to PDP, from PDP back to Labour, from Labour back to ADC, in all his time, he has been in opposition. But the parties, of course, they would accuse the ruling party of bringing the cracks in these parties, trying to use proceeds to cause destruction, internal wrangling within the party. That's why they keep moving from one party to the other. Outside that, look at the face of opposition. I'm seeing, what's the name of this woman from Delta State? That's
Loretta Onoche.
I'm looking at Loretta Onoche. I'm looking at Abubakar Malami. I'm looking at Amechi. I'm looking at these. There are people. If look at it, look at their faces.
Looking at the crop of people we have in the opposition, is there hope for Nigerians?
I think the only person, so many Nigerians, from what I've seen online, not offline, because we have to be very.
That's an entirely different.
Yes, or online, because you don't win elections online. Mm-hmm. You win elections offline. What I've seen online, they rally around P2B. If you take away P2B from the opposition camp, they will not even challenge APC in the next 20 to 30 years.
Not forgetting that P2B has, I would say no stand yet. I mean, he and Atiku are in the same party, same as Amechi. And all of them are hoping to clinch a ticket for that party.
In fact, the worst mistake the opposition made was in 2023. If P2B and Atiku had teamed up together, the oppositions, they have been making one mistake or the other. They have been making one mistake or the other. Even when you know that for you to win election and believe it will not be declared, there is a way you win election, it becomes very difficult to rig, as we had during the time of Buhari. If you win massively, rigging becomes impracticable. How many places will you rig? Will you rig every place? You cannot rig every place at the same time. There are places you can rig. There are places. Exactly what happened. Exactly what happened in the case of Buhari. That was why Jonathan considered immediately. Because even those that were with Jonathan worked for Buhari. And we saw what happened. The truth remains that opposition, they have not done their homework very well. They have not done their homework. They are good in making statements, issuing statements. I have not seen opposition engage Nigeria. Take P2B away. Engage Nigerians in practical alternatives. Practical alternatives.
All right, Tony.
Committing to such alternatives. Go to UK and see what Kemi Badnoch is doing as the face of the opposition. Every step the Prime Minister, Sir Kema, makes, she tells the people the alternative to that, how that can be executed, not just speaking on radio, speaking on television, releasing press statements, holding rallies, holding symposium. And then if you look at this election coming up, if they have an election now, you see how the opposition will come close to that. In fact, the election, you wouldn't even know who's going to win, because they always carry the people along.
Everyone is giving 100% energy.
Of course, carrying the people along, sympathizing with them, being with them, showing empathy. That's opposition. You don't see some of these things happen on the opposition we have now. The only person that comes close to doing that is just P2B. And outside him, there's Atiku Abubakar. He's far away. Amechi is looking for power. They are hungry. They are power hungry. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. They are power hungry.
Okay. Unfortunately, almost in the basket of what Mr. President described them as, but we've spoken enough on that. Quickly, right before we go for this commercial and open up the phone lines, we understand that there is rising terrorist attacks across Nigeria, Benin, and Niger Republic border corridor. And according to what we know, it looks like it's supposed to have a synergy, some sort of trilateral, if there is a word like that, what I call it cooperation among these border nations. But with the way things are going, it looks like that is not existent. So I'm curious to find out if there is any chain of intelligence sharing among these nations, probably working together to bridge these gaps in security.
Well, we know very well that security cannot be treated in isolation. There is need for intelligence sharing, intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, and ensuring proper deployment of even AI can be deployed in security management. We look at what is going on. We are told that how many bandits? We are told about 10,000, as I saw, invaded communities in Bauchi.
You also understand the number of them invaded Yowata. Over the past few days, 29 persons have been killed across Kebbi.
I'm very concerned and totally disturbed. 10,000 bandits.
That's a massive figure, Tony. And I am curious to find out if these countries work independently. I mean, every country tighten their loose ends. Do you think we would fare better, or should they come together to tackle this?
The problem is, remember, one of the root causes of terrorism, banditry, apart from poor leadership, which is the grand cause of banditry, poor leadership, indoctrination, extremism. These are core reasons these things do happen. And you also have poverty. Poverty plays a role. You also have neighbors who are hungry or poverty-stricken. Look at our neighbors. You are better than your neighbor. Or sometimes some people tell me the neighbor you are better than. Are you going to talk about Benin Republic? It's a small country. They nearly tear the country apart. The other time it was Nigeria that saved Benin Republic. If not, Benin Republic could have been under military rule as we speak right now. Benin Republic could have been under military rule. Look at the Niger Republic. That country is impoverished. Look at Chad. Chad is more like abandoned, deserted. Look at Cameroon. Very unsteady in everything. Also having its their own challenges. If you look at all our neighbors, many of them are in Nigeria, for one thing or the other. We are not direct neighbors to Ghana. We are not. Because for you to go to Ghana, you have to pass through some other country to get to Ghana. So if you look at our neighbors, they are nowhere to be. And how do you protect your own territory? Because if you look at terrorism, banditry, as far as I'm concerned, Chad, Niger, they played major role. During the time of Buhari, you opened the window for them. Because ordinarily his father is from Niger Republic. He migrated to Nigeria. Buhari's father was from Niger Republic, who migrated to Nigeria. And
so you think
he
sentiments have fueled this incident?
It happened, yes. Where we should have closed our borders, where we should have done one thing or the other, and at the same time, look at the level of degradation we are facing. We tightened everywhere we would have let loose for economic activity to burgeon. Look at agriculture, left undeveloped, underdeveloped, our agricultural sector, underdeveloped. There's no sector that is optimized in Nigeria when we know we have the capacity, where we know you have the manpower. Look at the energy sector, gone. And would I say buried? I don't know how many times you used to have power before now. I don't know how it is now. So many things have gone wrong because of we have failed to do what we are supposed to do. Religion has also caged us back, has done us terribly bad because we allow it. We are not practicing religion the way others are practicing it and making advancement. There are a lot of things are not going on right. But I don't know. We need not just, we have said many times, we need restructuring. We need reformatting. Not just the structure. We need to reformat a lot of things. Open up spaces. Open up. This country has what it takes to be the richest countries in the world. We have what it takes to compete with China. Look at Southeast. Graced with ingenuities. Graced with craft. How these things started, how these things developed. We should be talking about chips. I'm looking at NVIDIA. Are you aware that AI chip, there's a particular AI chip, H3, H100, $30,000 sold by NVIDIA. Go and look at the market worth of NVIDIA. And if you go there, you see our people there. Go to Silicon Valley, you see our people there. Why can't we have some of these things here? Leadership has cost us a lot.
Speaking about what we have here, yesterday, this still has barricaded NAFDAC office in Lagos. They said about 5,000 people are about to be out of jobs and thrown back into the streets if NAFDAC succeeds in banning sachet alcohol production. And I am curious to find out, Tony, now, are we going to have a double-sided conversation on this matter? Weighing it, maybe from their perspective, is there any sense in what they are saying, especially in comparison to what dangers await the health of Nigerians, with the continued production of sachet alcoholic beverages, and most importantly, the adulteration of that particular, what I call it, type of alcohol?
Well, we know very well that I don't know how much they sell this ogogoro in sachet. I think it's about 50 naira or 100 naira.
That's gone to about 150. Depends on the brand.
It's
how did you know? Chisom, how did you know?
Chisom, are you a suspect?
I am on now.
Are you a suspect?
Let me go to the shop opposite and ask.
Okay, the shop opposite. Oh, you price it.
I forgot that you're a journalist.
Oh,
how did you
okay.
forget?
We ask questions.
But how come I don't even know the price? I was saying 50 naira.
I told you 50 naira.
I was thinking it's 50
I gave a
naira.
tricycle driver 50 naira. He refused it. I gave him 15 naira. Then I was supposed to give him 200. I had a 100 naira note. 15 naira, 20, and then 10 naira. He refused it though. So who still collects 15 naira from you now, Tony?
Well, I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is we know very well that what's NAFDAC has gone political. It has become a political institution. We've seen most times that's why many Nigerians don't even trust them. Even when they tell us that they are doing this to protect our health, to make sure that minors are kept away from consuming some of these things, to make sure that adulteration, infiltration. They have said a lot of things that make sense, but the truth is, in whose interest are they acting? Because that is a critical question based on their antecedent. I've been in support of banning this sachet alcohol. Most public drivers, they do take this thing before they mount on their share, and we've seen the damages. But people are talking about people that will be left out of job, the capital that will be lost, the investment that will be lost. In fact, there is this valuation. Someone was saying that we're going to lose about 1 point something trillion. But does it mean that we cannot make good use of what we have to advance our good cause? If you talk about sachet, must we have sachet alcohol for us to protect that investment? Can there be a kind of conversion where we make good alcohol sold at the right place, consumed by the right people, well monitored? Institutions don't work. Now that cannot come and tell us they are sent. There are times they will see some of these things, they will collect bribe and allow it to go. So when they begin to say they are doing this, why would we trust them now?
All right.
It is just a misfeeling for me. But the key thing is we must do everything that will protect our health. We must. Health first. Look at the issue of kidney problem. It's becoming prevalent and it's costlier. And the question is, we don't have some of the places where these treatments are done.
Okay.
It's really appalling.
Let's go on this break now and then open up the phone lines immediately after. Keep it locked. It's still the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, I'll pack it on the yellow. Wendy's bread, mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread, kitchen and do. Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, I mean, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Right, the politicization of things like what's happening with distillers and NAFDAC is an unfortunate thing, especially where we decide to do things in this country. Agree on, would I call it, a time-bound phase-out of these sachet alcoholic drinks, and when the time comes, we start to run from pillar to post again. December 30th last year, I was a victim of a drunk driver. He hit me into a deep gutter. I'm not even joking. I'm so grateful I don't have the scars left. But when he came down from the bus, he was reeking of alcohol. And if, like Franklin said off the microphone, if he had to buy a bottle of a really good brand, he wouldn't be drinking and driving.
Definitely. You know, that you are right, because alcohol is expensive in most places. If you go to Russia, if you take Russian alcohol, you understand. So it is not something that will be so cheap that anybody can access it immediately. Anytime.
Mechalo one sachet. I'm not joking. These are things you see on the street.
It's not Mechalo.
0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Let's hear you. Please be as objective as possible. Don't forget we are on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You have a minute to. Let's not waste time on formalities. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Dr. Tony Osambeki and the Franklin.
You're welcome.
Good morning to you all. Chidi Chukuma joining you from home.
Go ahead, Chidi.
Let me speak on this controversy over the electoral law. Yes, your focus is based on the ruling party and participate by voting at the right time, that doesn't make us an active politician. And what we want is supposed to be what the government should be considering, our yearnings and our aspirations. We did not vote them into power to work for their own personal interests, but for the interests of Nigeria. I think what the millions of Nigerians are yearning for is to have a very peaceful and credible election in Nigeria, where everybody will participate. The Anambra State, the last election in Anambra State was so peaceful. At the end of the whole thing, we did not see anybody going to court or any challenge about for the people. Everything was so clear because that law was followed critically, and we saw the result. Why are they trying to manipulate? It is very, very bad for them to continue intimidating Nigerians. And why are they afraid of it? Somebody said that P2D may not win even 30 years coming. The last election, that 2023 election, who won that election? Why are they afraid of P2D? You see the attack in different directions, and these people are still talking of one thing or the other, structure, whether it's a social media structure or not. Everything is now digital. Even the social media is a new thing that is happening in the whole world now. So if you think that it's social media, why did the P2B won at the last election, and why are they so afraid? Because P2B is talking of the real-time election transmission. But these people are talking of manual. Why are they pushing us backward? The world is moving forward to new technology. And why should Nigeria be last in that? We can never accept that. If they want to, don't want this peaceful election, I think they are fanning the amber of chaos in Nigeria because they
all right, thank you, Chidi Chukwuma. Your time is up.
To take over this country.
All right,
it is
thank you.
All.
Your point is clear. Let's hear you. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Good morning. Are you there? Hello? Okay, you should reconnect. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Yes, this is the voice of Honorable James Mayor Okutukume Okulola Ochindo Nodu. Can I go on?
Yes, please.
Tony, I just have a question for you. I want to ask you, Tony Olizambeki, as it stands now, you have explained everything about this in your amendment in the electoral law. Now, is it not better to boycott elections by all the parties? Or is it better to allow rogues and criminals to rig the election and ascend to the throne of governance of Nigeria and start making things more hard for innocent Nigerians? No, is it not better to boycott that election, even if it happens that the military can come in and start ruling Nigeria? Thank you and God bless you. Please, please, can you people buy bell to be measuring us on time? Please.
Thank you. Good morning. This is not a shrine.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So there's
welcome on board, Odaze.
No, we want to turn you some to Ezawany. There is a bell behind us so that we use a bell as Ezawany.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Ama m n'ime ebe ahụ na-asụ oyibo.
Let me
be a bit serious about this election and the way we've been darling about it. I'm a bit skeptical. Something tells me that by the end of the day we may not even have it the way we wish, because God planned this for us. We changed the date. It says not Islamic enough, neither is it Christian enough. And here we are, still waiting for whichever way it will come. Be that as it may, I'm sure Mr. Tinubu himself must be panicking wherever he is, because they've put a lot of things in bad order that they can put it properly. And we too, have not been comprehending in the order we should. They said, Udala. Well, I'm biased. You know, positively biased for Udala. The most radio stations not even know there's an election coming. So we see that and pray for the best. Have yourself a good weekend.
Have a good weekend too, Odaze. Let us hear you. 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Wonderful morning to you, lady of the house, Chisom Chinedu.
Good morning.
Good morning. Honorable Deacon, I'm bringing from Onitsha. Frankly, my regards to you. Let me go straight to the point. I think looking at the Nigerian actors, they will not do much from the presidency to Ababio Assembly, to House of Reps and Judiciary. Nothing will come out from them. The opposition on their own part need to rate their game. They are doing good, but their best is not, they're not even at their best. They need to rate their game. Now, when you talk about changing of power in Nigeria, I think we must have to commend this senator from the U.S., Raleigh Moore, Ted Cruz, and some of his colleagues. These are men that, if the opposition could reflect on what they have done already, bet you me there will be a free, fair, credible election. The U.S. cannot do everything for us. Raleigh Moore cannot see himself for us. So I expect, when Jonathan was in power, Obama was then the president of U.S. Muhammadu Buhari, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, mentioned all these EPC blocks and APC. They went to Washington over insecurity. Are you getting it? All of them were there. They were briefed by the president. So what now prevents people to be Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, engaging the U.S. government? And you know that Donald Trump is a man that loves democracy, he loves freedom. And Nigeria being branded a country of a particular concern and a country that there's genocide against the Christians. I don't want the politicians to also become like some of these general overseers that are after tithes and offerings, that are keeping quiet in the time that Christians are being slaughtered. So they need to raise their game. It's not enough to come on the pages of newspaper, we reject this, we reject that. Look at a presidential candidate being shot in Edo State, and the president can't even condemn it. When Buhari was attacked by Boko Haram, I think somewhere in Katsina or Kaduna, I've forgotten the state, Jonathan quickly beefed up the security of Muhammadu Buhari. Now, the president on his own part can't even condemn the act. The DSS is nowhere to be seen. They can't even make investigation and find out what really played out. You have bullets. You don't have bullets for bandits. You don't have bullets for terrorists. You don't have bullets for kidnappers. But you have bullets for your fellow citizens. How do we talk about this? Is this a democracy? Why is the president poised to come back? Why has he overclouded his sense of reasoning? Can't you this is a man that fought Nadeko. This is a man that Nigerians were saying that if this man should get into power, then everything will become Uhuru. Now he's in power. And he's becoming worse than Sani Abacha. I mean, what kind of democracy? I'm turning Nigeria into one-party state. Is this what you call democracy? So look at the Ababio Assembly. Not doing anything. It's not the U.S. that is concerned over the killings that is going on here. They are not performed. They are just after 2027 elections to come back into the seat. So I just want to urge the opposition, let them raise their game. Engage in Washington, liaise with right-thinking senators in the U.S. and ensure that they look deep into the electoral system in Nigeria. Because these are things that bring agitation. These are things that when the bandits are looking at it, they say, if your leader is doing this, then why can you condemn what they are doing? If your election rigging is worse than Boko Haram attack, when you rig the people's mandate, you stole the people's mandate, it's worse than Boko Haram attack.
All right, thank
because
you.
You can never make any headway.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Good morning. Are you there? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, we can hear you.
Good morning. You're speaking with you from Madabuchi. I'm calling from College of Federation.
Go ahead, Madabuchi.
All right. Well, let me start to say that I will commend you, Tony, for your analysis.
You have a minute, Madam.
For past 10 years, you have been doing this in so many platforms, telling Nigerians the truth. And the truth remains that Nigerian government, they are not a listening government. All they are is a traveling government. And that is why what is happening in the continent, that we are in a situation whereby we have been traveling to the foreign countries, doing what? And that is what Tony has been telling all the political leaders to listen, but they are not going to listen. So I think if it is possible in 2027, we should come out again and vote massively to know whether which government can,
Hello. Okay, I think that call ended on its own. 0803-221-6973. Last call. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
And Tony Luzambeki is Frank.
You're welcome.
You guys. My name is Mary Grace. You calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please.
Talking about devil mine incident. I want to ask those women who are championing more seats for women in legislative house. Where are they? They are now keeping quiet. They cannot even come out to stand for their woman. When the woman has presented so many evidences to prove that this particular devil mine was asking her out, but she refused. You understand? These women who are tempering power, they are looking for power, more seats in their house. They cannot even start now to fight for themselves. For you to know, whatever they are looking for that house is just a selfish purpose. To me, that is where I'm seeing it, because with those evidence the woman has brought out, they're supposed to rally around her. What kind of nonsense is that? Somebody supplied you whatever business that they had. You must pay for that particular business instead of using your power to be dealing with that innocent woman. To me, it is the right time they must stand for that woman. If they don't, they should stop all those nonsense they are doing there, looking for power in the legislative.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then let's head over to Facebook now, Frank.
Okay. Let's begin from this very one. Okay. We have a post from Michael Child. Okay, his real name is Michael Amobi, and he says, my question to Tony is, the representatives, are they there to do their wish or to do the wish of Nigerians? Master B. SJ says, if the major challenge in Nigeria, which is leadership, can be corrected by Nigerians, the country will witness major investment and jobs for the youths. He posted from Onitsha. Sebastian Abigwe from Uwabobosi says, it's very unfortunate as regards to where we find ourselves today politically. Looking at the speedy response of Mr. President in signing the bill into law, it's good to understand that it is nothing but a coup just to nail the hope of the masses on the cross. Sincerely speaking, what APC plotted as regards to the electoral amendment bill is poly-yahoo in the highest order, and he's asking which way Nigeria. Ivan Sude posted from Onitsha. He says, the truth is remodeling and reconstruction of Onitsha main market is a welcome development. Just that I feel that 1 month vacation notice is too small. Remember that government agencies were paid before putting up those structures. Nevertheless, okay. So we got that. Okay, thank you for your point, Ivan Sude. Honora says, okay, my name is Honora from Enugu. Okay, talking about the example I gave there. Okay. So he says, for me, that government plan is a good thing to bad rubbish. Just like you said, the original shop owners were displaced, the price and the size reduced to nothing. For me, that government plan is to enrich some people. Okay, thank you for dropping your comment. Anons Amy says, Nigeria is so religious yet so corrupt with wicked and self-centered politicians. No be Pakistan and Afghanistan they fight during Ramadan, and both countries are Muslims, always using religious sentiments to do evil in the name of God. Dan Dollar says, he posted from Awada, and he says, one thing people need to know, especially people in Anambra State and environ, is that sometimes development comes with pain. because there must be one or two people that will definitely be affected negatively. So let's embrace what the government is doing. But I want to appeal to the government of Anambra State to please provide where those people, their shops were marked for demolition, where they can stay, so that the pain will be less. Rotrat Ubia Wike Christopher from College of Education and Super says, let it be on record with the names of APC lawmakers that killed the electoral reform and democracy in Nigeria. We have to hold them accountable for further reference tomorrow, and when most of them fall out with APC or not favored during the election, they will start talking sense and blaming the electoral process they contributed in killing. Dr. Misimo Lebara from Awure says the theatricals in our polity have become most newswriting. It is only in Nigeria that leaders find it difficult to apologize for their wrong acts or resign voluntarily, as is obtainable in other climes. Why can't we keep faith in a democracy that we fought hard for? Today is our 44th wedding anniversary. Okay, congratulations. Happy anniversary to you, Dr. Misimo Lebara. And this one is from Ethos the Law. Okay. Ethos the Law. He says, these main market people are so funny. Because their shops fell into the marked ones, they decided to echo the Bible story of two women that King Solomon had to use his wisdom to know the actual mother of the living child. Soludo should do the needful, and his son just said it all. This is like witchcraft. Okay, thank you for posting from Onitsha. Ugo Chukwu Frank says the decision by INEC to fix January 16, 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly election provides early clarity for political parties, candidates, and voters. Okay. Akbara Mike, okay, is asking that the governor give the traders more time. Christian Onyedika says, opposition will not work in Nigeria for now because our court is no more working. See how they are helping Wiki to destroy PDP and other parties soon. Nigeria has been hijacked by Chagaban groups. And the Honor has a question. He says, how is it possible for INEC to sign an agreement with a network provider to provide network on that very day so that when it fails, we know who to hold accountable? Is that nice? Isn't it like signing an agreement with any network provider? They're on their own, and like he's on his own.
All right then. That's so much we can take. Do we have more? Okay, that's so much we can take from Facebook. Dr. Tony Becky, would you give answers to some of those questions?
Of course, I have two questions there, but I also say we can also make use of Starlink network. I know somebody was opposing it, saying if you do it, it's going to make you leave certain information to some people, foreigners or multinationals, but they have our information already. WhatsApp we use, Facebook we use, Instagram, all these things. We share some information, we share these things, and they have these things already. So what difference will it make? The one about our age, date, location, and all. But that's by the way. Let's talk about, somebody said if you boycott election, what would happen? Or if the election is boycotted, if for one reason or the other, because of the electoral amendment, a boycotted election is not the best option, my brother. If you invite the military, you don't know when they are going to leave. But if somebody you don't like wins election, he has 4 years. If someone you don't like wins election, he has 4 years. At least you are sure he will leave by 4 years. And you work between that period to see how you can also bring up a change. But if you invite military, you don't know when they are going to leave. You don't even know how they are going to treat you. So the best thing for us is to start working for 2031. If
and the constitution even stops functioning. Of
course, that's just that. You lose many freedom. The truth is, if you think 2027 will, if it does not favor you, start preparing for 2031 early enough. That is one. And then somebody was talking about, I think, Honora. I think there is this.
They were asking about if INEC can sign agreements with a network provider so that if anything fails, we know who to hold responsible.
We have just few of them here in Nigeria: MTN, Eltel, Etisalat, Glo. These are 4 of them we have as network providers.
So do we need any kind of agreement? Because
MOU for them to fulfill and ensure, no, of course we can extract this commitment from them.
Okay.
And this commitment can also be justiciable once they put it to paper that they're not going in any way to do anything otherwise. We can extract that, but I can also boost communication by using Starlink.
All right.
You cannot disrupt Starlink. It's everywhere. Of course,
you.
once you have your equipment on, these things can work.
All right. Thank you, Tony, for your wonderful analysis today and this week. This is the last edition of the Polity for the month of February. Thank you for being a part of it through and through. The Polity is going to make a return on Monday, 9:15 down to 11 a.m. right here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Franklin, your parting shots.
Just a quick one. This back and forth between NAFDAC and the distillers. I think we need to know what is going on, because it seems like somebody somewhere in government
at the background
is actually engineering this. What am I saying this? NAFDAC in 2018, mooted this idea of, stopping alcohol production in sachet and PET bottles of, 200 ml. Then when they mooted this very idea, they wanted to begin immediate enforcement and said no, it was going to affect businesses. And they had a consultation with all these people who are now protesting, the distillers, all of them, manufacturers, distributors. They had meeting, consultation, and they agreed on 5-year moratorium, meaning that they should not enforce until after 5 years, so that they will have a time to transit to what they want.
Phase off, ease off.
Yes, it was meant to begin last 2 years. It was postponed. Last year it began again. They said you should hold on for the meantime until now. Now, what baffles me is that last 2 weeks, we heard that there was a directive from the office of the SGF asking NAFDAC to hold for the action. And NAFDAC said, we have not got any official communication from anybody asking us to stop. If we get, we are going to respond. But for now, nothing. Since then, I was thinking that I was going to hear from the office of the SGF saying that actually we did. So it seemed like somebody's trying to engineer something we do not know. And they look at, SEDAP went to court to challenge the federal government. The federal government said it has no hand in whatever is happening, that NAFDAC has the sole responsibility to do this. So what I'm saying is, we need to come clean on this. Let's know if anybody is actually engineering crisis within the presidency.
All right, thank you. My name is Chisom Chinedu. See you on Monday.
Before the bridges came, before the city stretched its arms to the sky, there was a voice carried by the great Niger, whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves. A voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is all.